are you telling me what to do? You obviously failed doing this, and now I got to listen to you? Get the hell out of here. We were completely out of control. By the end, we had shot girls, and we would set up full bars, and we had tons of people always around. Howard goes on the air and acts like he's a tough guy, and he takes on everybody, but he never really took on me and Anthony. So every time we were giving Howard Stern a beating, Howard would call Ken Stevens personally and yell and scream. No, the radio is best when honest and no filter, LOL. If you were played, it would have not been the same. True, but, you know, it made for some awkward days after the mics were off. I used to love when I would just beat the crap out of bosses because I thought I really, truly believe to this day that if you're a manager in radio, you're just a failed radio show host because they make way less money. And I'm like, why are you telling me what to do? You obviously failed doing this, and now I got to listen to you. Get the hell out of here. There's a few exceptions to the rule. Tim Sabian was absolutely amazing. Eric Logan was absolutely amazing. I think that's about all I could say. Early on, Bob Buckman was amazing when I used to work at WBAB. But for the most part, these guys stink. And you'd go on the air and just rip them a new one, and then the show's over, and you see them in the hall, and you're like, oh, fuck, awkward. But you knew the audience ate it all up. But then you had to walk around for the rest of your time at the radio station feeling very uncomfortable because you know they heard every word of it. And you know they wanted to scold you, but they would get the ratings and see, especially me and Anthony at the time, where the ratings were just going, wait, I could do it this way. We're just going up, 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 up. So they knew they needed to just leave us the fuck alone because if our ratings were good, then their job was also secure. So they were in a bit of a quandary. I love the Ken Stevens, but he was spread way too thin. They forced him to run 3 radio stations when truly at the time when me and Anthony were in New York and completely out of control, they needed Ken Stevens there on a full-time basis, making sure we didn't blow up the place. This might be a little too inside, but think 98 to 2002, we're at WNEW. We're just absolutely destroying, and we're getting syndicated all over the place, and we're number one in pretty much every city they put us in. But we were completely out of control. By the end, we had shot girls, and we would set up full bars, and we had tons of people always around. And the best part, we would walk down the hall to do our show, and there would be literally no bosses on the premises. No bosses. We had the run of the place. And then you know how that ended. Eventually, it got the best of us. But we truly needed someone like Ken Stevens to, I mean, I wouldn't have liked it, but looking back, it makes sense now. We needed someone like him to be sitting in that seat every day to make sure we didn't blow up ourselves or the radio station. And in the end, we did both of those things. We blew up ourselves, and we and we blew up the radio station. So, yeah. The best Ken Stevens story, though, we got in trouble for something. I mean, we were just bothering Howard, and every time we bothered Howard, Howard Stern would call Ken Stevens personally and yell and scream at him. And this is the inside stuff I love because Howard goes on the air and acts like he's a tough guy and he takes on everybody, but he never really took on me and Anthony. So every time we were giving Howard Stern a beating, Howard would call Ken Stevens personally and yell and scream and almost give poor Ken Stevens like a stroke. And then Ken would try to talk to us like, you know, because he was awesome and he really, really liked us. But like I said, he was spread thin, and he would try to talk us down and try to get us to move on to other things because he just didn't want to get those stupid phone calls from Howard. But on the air, Howard would act like he was the greatest broadcaster ever and he wasn't scared of anyone. But I know, and Anthony knows, that that's not true, that he fought all his battles behind the scenes and then on air made believe nothing was bothering him. So I forgot the bit, but we did something, and Ken Stevens got an earful from Howard and the company in general. It's okay. He had his bags packed because he had to go from New York to Washington to Philly. His work week was exhausting. He had to be in Washington, Philly, and New York every week. So he would try to spread his time. So sometimes he was only in New York like a day. And all of a sudden, he quit on us. He's the GM. He quits on us because I can't take this shit anymore. And he basically said, I'm done, or I quit. And he grabs his bags and starts marching out of his office toward the elevators. And me and Anthony were in there. We're having a meeting. And we looked at each other like, did he just quit? He can't quit. We were number one all over the country. This was before he blew ourselves up with the Sex with Sam thing. So I know I marched down the hall. I'm not sure if Anthony followed me or not. I forget that part of this, to be completely honest. And I gave him a scolding, and I told him he can't quit. And I said, now you get back in your office, unpack, take a breath, and we'll figure all this out. And he's looking at me all confused because I think he was thinking, wait, I'm the boss. I'm like, yeah, you're usually the boss, but I'm the boss today. You can't quit. Now walk back down the hall, get back in your office, unpack, take a breather, and we'll figure this shit out. And to his credit, man, we figured this shit out. He stayed.